Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon on this beautiful, I think it's Tuesday, right? I think it's Tuesday. Sometimes my days get a little messed up, but I am in the land of the living with my right mind. I just forget a little bit, but it's all good. It's all good. I am Portia Wheatley. I am the founder and the president of a nonprofit organization, Acknowledges Trophy of Life Incorporated, and we have the great opportunity, the privilege, and most of all, the God assignment to render hope, encouragement, and inspiration to you, our audience, across the whole wide world. And we're grateful to God for being able to do that on this platform, which is acknowledged as Project 365. And we, again, are so happy to address topics that many people may not want to talk about or are somewhat hesitant to talk about. But I am so convinced that there are so many topics that the world is dealing with today. And I'm not afraid to bring individuals to our platform to address those issues. Well, before we release our guests to come to the platform and actually share with us, I would love if you would become a part of our team and go to our YouTube channel to subscribe. You become a part of our team, Project 365, to spread a word of hope, encouragement, and inspiration to the whole wide world. Yes, you can do that. We serve a great God who does great things, and you become a part of a great team. So on that note, I'm going to step back and I am going to bring to the platform Dr. David Walker. Matter of fact, I what I posted regarding Dr. David, I would like to read that before he comes and shares because it just hits all the points that I would originally want to say. Black men constantly face challenges to be successful in society. They face many challenges that attempt to keep them from assuming their rightful place as husbands, fathers, and leaders in the community. This conversation today will assist Black men in overcoming the obstacles to success and learning how to win the challenge of manhood. Dr. David Walker is a voice of inspiration to many, and he believes that the most significant accomplishments are within your desire to be better than what you are today. David Walker is a speaker, podcast host, and an author. He speaks on leadership development, Black college males and spirituality, and the King mentality, which is a presentation that empowers young Black men and young Black males to challenge negative societal influences and encourages them to develop and maintain positive attitudes that contribute to success in life. I love that. I mean, I'm sure you're going to bring it. I know you're going to do that. But if you did not come to the platform, this is enough right here. But of course, we want to hear what you have to say. Dr. Walker's education includes an earned doctorate. I like that. Read within that. In education and a Master of Divinity degree in theology. Thank you so very much, Dr. David, as you're affectionately known. Thank you for accepting our invitation to come and share, and the platform is all yours.
Well, Pastor Portia, I want to take the time to thank you for inviting me to this wonderful platform called Project 365. And I think I saw that today is day number 299. I might have saw that. So I'm just one number short of 300. So, but that's all right. That's all right. I am just super excited to be on the show today and on your platform today. And I want to start off by sharing why I'm on the platform today. And I want to talk about the challenge of manhood, and specifically the challenge of Black manhood and being a Black man in our society. Now, we all know that Black men are facing several challenges, many challenges. And I'm looking at the chat, and I don't know whether or not people are on and can comment, but if you are, if you know a Black man that is facing a challenge, whether it's a husband, a father, a son, if you know a Black man that's facing challenges, just write in the chat, say, I know, or just raise your hand, or wherever you are, just shake your head and say, yeah, Dr. Walker, I know of several Black men who are facing manhood challenges, man challenges, challenges with respect, challenges with identity, challenge with who they are in society and who God has called them to be. Now, I just want to throw out just a couple of facts for you, just so that we're all on the same page of knowing that Black men face challenges. So number one, Black men are disproportionately shot and killed by police than any other person. Black men are significantly overrepresented in the prisons. Black men, here's a stat, Black men go to jail 6 times more likely than their white counterparts. Black men are disproportionately affected with health issues, cancer, hypertension, depression, and many other health-related issues Black men experience. Black men live at least 4 years less than their white counterparts, talking about white men. Black men, watch this now, Black men live outside of the home more than their white counterparts. And finally, and this is something that is afflicted upon Black men, not of their own doing, but just because of the way our society is. And that is Black men face more racialized encounter. In other words, they experience racism more than any other gender, ethnicity. They are racialized far more than anybody else. Now, the question becomes why? Why is there such a challenge towards the Black man? And that's because he has a responsibility. He has an assignment that was given to him by God, and it is the enemy that's trying to take him out of his position and take him out of his place so he does not lead like he's supposed to lead. I'm just going to take a little drink of water. So we know that Black men face a lot of challenges. And being a Black man, I can tell you that I face some challenges myself. I like to just go back just a little bit into my childhood. I grew up in an urban community in Brooklyn, New York called Bedford-Stuyvesant. Now, many of you may have never heard of Bedford-Stuyvesant, but not only am I from Bedford-Stuyvesant, but let me tell you some phenomenal people who came from Bedford-Stuyvesant. Well, if you're in business, you've heard of Earl Graves. If you're into movies, especially the classic movies, you've heard of Lena Horne. If you're into a comedy, there's Chris and Tony Rock. They're from Bedford-Stuyvesant. If you're into rap, you love rap, Jay-Z and Biggie come from Bedford-Stuyvesant. And if you're into politics, the legend herself, Shirley Chisholm, who said, I will not be boss or boy. She comes from Bedford-Stuyvesant. But the thing about Bedford-Stuyvesant is that there was a tagline that was associated with it. It was called Bed-Stuy, do or die. Yeah, Bed-Stuy, do or die. And what that meant is either you got the job done or the community got the best of you. Come on, somebody. You had to be creative. You had to be determined to come out of that community. Otherwise, the community did you in. I remember as a little boy, I could see the drug deals and the gang violence on the corners. I see the abandoned buildings and the vacant lots. That was the community that I grew up in. That's what I experienced. And there was not a lot of hope, aspirations, motivations or joy to succeed. So I experienced a lot. Now, I want to just also tell you something else. Now, as you know, my name is David. And my mother wanted to name me Michael, but she came to my grandmother one day and she said, "Ma, I've decided on the name that I'm going to give my son." And my grandmother looked at my mother when my mother said, "His name is going to be Michael." My grandmother looked at my mother and said, "His name will be David." But my mother looked at my grandmother and said, "But Mom, I like the name Michael and I want my son to be named Michael." But my grandmother said, "My grandson will be named David because David was the anointed king. David killed Goliath. David was a great man, and my grandson will be named David and he will be a great man." Sister Portia, you got to know I love my grandmother. But let me tell you this. My grandmother, she gave me a marker for success, because anybody knows anything about the biblical character, he was a person of success. He was a king. He slayed the giant. He wrote the Psalms. My grandmother, it's interesting, she didn't want to name me after Jesus, but she said, "I'll name him after David." But she gave me this marker for success. But there were times that I felt like I could not live up to this potential of being David, of being somebody special. And I know that there's some man that's listening to me. There may be times where you have not felt like you could live up to the success that was placed upon you as a man, as a husband, as a father. And I did not know who I was going to be, but I found my success in education. I had a chance to go to college. I went to college on a baseball scholarship, and I went to college and I earned a degree, and I ended up becoming a teacher, becoming a school administrator. But the education that I got through life, it taught me a lot of things, and it taught me about life. And my college experience and my journey taught me how to be a man. After college, I ended up getting married. I married the love of my life. We've been married 38 years. Hello, somebody. 38 years. Sister Portia, now I call her my 38 special because we've been married 38 years. We've got a couple of grown children in their mid-30s. And now I'm even a grandpa 2 times over. They call me Papa. And why am I bringing all of this out about my history and what I've gone through? Because even though I came through a background that told me, it didn't tell me much about life. It didn't give me hope and aspiration. But over time and having a relationship with God, I began to develop an insight as to how to become a man, how to be a husband to a woman for 38 years, how to raise a man and a young daughter to adulthood. And then, of course, how to be a leader in society, because that's when I talk about being an educator, being a school administrator. Let me throw one more thing out there. I was a pastor for 15 years. So through my life experiences, I learned how to be a husband, a leader, a father. And so many men are facing challenges in those particular areas. And they are directly affecting your manhood and who you are to be and who you are to become. And I came today to encourage every single man that's listening to this Facebook Live today. I came to encourage you by telling you that God has called you to manhood. God has called you to be a leader in your home. God has called you to be a leader in your community. And I just want to share about 3 or 4 points to help you to get there, because these are things that I believe that God gave me to share with you to help you to become the man that you're supposed to be. Here's the first thing. If you're going to be a man, and if you're going to challenge the challenges to manhood, or if you want to win the challenge to manhood, the first thing you have to do is that you have to be fearless. You have to be fearless. You know, it was Nelson Mandela who said that courage is not the absence of fear, but it is the triumph over it. So in other words, when I talk about being fearless, I mean that as a man, you got to step up and show up. You got to go past all of the fears that present themselves to you for being a man. There are so many things in society that's telling you you can't make it, that you can't do it. You can't take care of that family. You know, so many men leave because they become afraid of responsibility. Y'all ain't saying nothing to me. They become afraid of the task that they have to embark upon. But you have to embrace the task that you have, and you got to take the fear that comes with fatherhood, manhood, adulthood, and you got to push past your fears. I want to tell you about a man. How many of y'all know Will Smith? I know everybody knows Will Smith. And Will Smith has a new movie coming out. You may have heard of it. It's called King Richard. He is playing the role of a man by the name of Richard Williams. Now, that name may not ring a bell to you, Richard Williams. Who's Richard Williams, Dr. Walker? Well, Richard Williams is the father of Venus and Serena Williams. And Will Smith' new movie, he's playing Richard Williams. And as I was watching, the introduction to it, and I noticed something about Richard Williams. Here he was, a Black man raising two daughters in Compton, California. They had no money. They didn't have any of the resources for those two girls to become the legendary tennis players that they are. But what Richard Williams said was, I'm going to go beyond my fear. I'm going to go beyond everything that's trying to push me back to keep me from teaching my girls and training my girls to be the best tennis players ever. The story or the movie is going to show you how they overcome, how he overcome, even when people push back on him, even when people told him they'll never be what you want them to be. They'll never arise to the level that you want them to become. Why? Because people were looking at where they came from. So you can't let where you come from keep you from being somebody. You can't let where you come from being the man who you are. So Richard Williams, he said, no, I'm not going to let my circumstances control me. I'm going to push past this. I'm going to make sure that my girls become the greatest tennis players ever. And I don't have to tell you the story about those two queens, Venus and Serena Williams. Here's the second thing that I want to give you. If you're going to win the challenge of manhood, the second thing is that as a man, you have to be accountable. You have to be accountable for who you are and what you have done. Here's a quote that I want to give you. Not only accountability, but responsibility. And the quote says, accountability breeds responsibility. What does that mean, Dr. Walker? That means whatever it is that you have done, you have to take accountability for it. You know, I'm blessed to have been married, as I said earlier, 38 years. You know, I've been with the same woman, married to her 38 years, together 41 years. So I consider it fortune, God's blessing, and all those things. But sometimes I find that men get connected with someone when they first started out. They thought it was going to be a long journey. They thought she was the right one. Sometimes you might have even gotten married, or sometimes she was just a situation. Come on now. Sometimes you just have a situation, but based on that relationship, kids came about. Got a couple of kids. But even though you don't have a relationship like you wanted with that mother, you still have a responsibility and accountability to take care of your children. I wish I had a witness here. You have to take care of your children. There is a responsibility and accountability for every man. I was watching the news the other day, and there was a story, and I'm talking about accountability here. There's a story about a school in Louisiana, and over a 3-day period, several of the students got into fights, and they were fighting all over the campus at the high school, and they was just wilding out, and the school administration couldn't do anything about it. And one dad came up with an idea. He said, I think that there need to be a dad presence at that school. And not only did he show up, but he got about 40 other dads in the community, and they all showed up to that school. And now they're taking rotating turns to supervise and to guard and to protect. And they're known as dads on duty. Dads on duty. And what did that man see? He saw, and all those men, they saw the need to be accountable for their children. Their children, they were out of control. Their children was fighting. And these Black men said, we have to take responsibility for what's going on with our children. And they showed up to that school. And watch this. Since the Black men showed up, there has not been a fight at that school, not one day. They asked one of the students, they said, what do you think the difference is that now that these dads are on campus, now that these dads are supervising and protecting and guarding, what do you think the difference is that wasn't there before? The young daughter said, their presence. Hello, somebody. See, when a dad shows up, things get in order. I wish I had a witness here. When a dad shows up, the family gets in order. When a dad shows up, it may not eliminate problems, but when a dad shows up, he can help solve the problems. I wish I had a witness in the building. So you got to be accountable. Here's the next thing. You got to be a person of character. If you're going to win the challenge of manhood, as a man, you got to be a person of character. It was Booker T. Washington who said, listen to this. He said, character, not circumstances, makes the man. It's character, not the circumstances, make the man. When you are a man of character, you do the right thing because it is the right thing. Nobody has to tell you what the right thing to do when you are a man of character. Now, here's something, Pastor Portia. You know, a lot of times people make mistakes in life. And some people like to judge you by the mistakes that you make. But see, I don't judge people by their mistakes because guess what? We're all human. We all fall short of God's glory. We all make mistakes. But here's how I judge a man to determine whether or not he's a man of character. That is not by the mistakes that he's made, but the fact is that he takes immediate steps to correct them. Y'all ain't hear me. It's not the mistakes that a man makes, but it is the immediate steps that he takes to correct them. So in other words, if I did something wrong, the first thing I do, I say, I'm sorry. Y'all ain't saying nothing. The first thing I do is I take acknowledgement of that I did wrong. The first thing I do is say, well, I'm wrong. Let me go say I'm sorry. And then let me correct my mistake. Some things we can't change that we've done, but I can now make mistakes. I can now take steps to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Y'all ain't saying nothing to me. That's how you judge a person by character. So somebody here, you know, they've made a mistake with you, but if they have made the steps to correct that, then judge them as a man of character. Here's the last thing I want to share with you is that if you're going to win the challenge of manhood, you have to have a relationship with God. You have to have a relationship with God. I know sometimes we don't think we need God, but you need God. As a man, you need God. You know, it was David who said in the 130th Psalm, he said, God knows me and I know God. You know, when a man knows God, he knows that the Lord is his shepherd. When a man knows God, he can lead his family in spirituality and life focus. When a man knows God, he has focus. Why? Because he knows that there is a responsibility on his life. You have to know God. And if you're listening to me tonight, I want to encourage every man to get into a relationship with God, a relationship with Jesus. He will help you to lead your family. He will help you to guide your family. I want to close this message, and I want every single man who may be listening to me, I want you to make some affirmations today. I want you to affirm that you are fearless. I want you to affirm that you will take accountability and responsibility. I want you to affirm that you are a person of character. And lastly, I want you to affirm that you will have a God presence. If you can affirm all these things, you want to win at being a man, you want to overcome the challenges of your manhood. These are the things that you do. And I'm sure that there are many more, but if you could just start with those few things, it will help you to become the man that you are supposed to be. Our wives, our mothers, our daughters, they're looking for men to stand up. They're looking for men to take their rightful place. It's not a problem when a man takes his place. Why? God has assigned him a responsible and a respectable place in the family. And when the man stands up, he'll win the challenge of manhood. God bless you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Walker. I appreciate that. You've done due diligence to your delivery on today. And a couple of times in there, I wanted to say, amen, hallelujah. But it was wonderful.
Thank you.
It's so many great points that you brought out. One thing I wanted to ask you, matter of fact, before we leave the broadcast, we want to make sure we have your contact information so that whether they're young boys, young men, grown adults can contact you whenever they feel like it. And again, you're out of Orlando, Florida. That's where you are?
Yes, I'm out of Orlando, Florida. But
Okay.
if people can contact me, I'm on social media, all platforms as Dr. David M. Walker, all platforms, Dr. Dr. David M. Walker, all social media platforms. I have a website, drdavidmwalker.com, drdavidmwalker.com. I made it easy for everybody. It's Dr. David M. Walker across the board.
Good. Good. We'll make sure I put that information into the comment section. But I wanted to ask you as well, what would you share with our audience as it relates to young boys? What can the men share with the young boys? You know, it's a lot that goes on with the young people,
Yeah.
but as a male adult, what can you share?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that a man needs to do for his young son and others in the community is that you have to be a mentor to them. You have to mentor young people. Now let me say this, and I'm, you know, I've learned to tread lightly when I deal with the conversation of men in the house, women in the house. I know that there are a lot of women who have done a great job in raising their sons. Far too many have had to raise Black boys on their own.
Yes.
But I want to say this, and I hope that women understand this. I think it's important for you never to say to a young man that he doesn't need a man in his life.
Mm.
His dad may not be there, but find an uncle, find a man in the community, find someone who will embrace your son and help him to be the man that he needs to be. You're doing a great job with raising him, but there are certain elements that a man needs, and he can only get that from another man, someone who has gone through manhood and has experienced manhood. And let that man pour into your man, and I'm talking about your son, and allow that to combine with what you have already given him. And don't take down. And here's another thing, since you asked me, I know a lot of women will say, we don't need your money. I'm doing good all by myself. I can raise this boy all by myself. You take your child support and keep it. But I want to encourage women to not let a man get out of supporting his child financially. And the way the courts have said it is through a legal process of child support. And let him, because that's a part of accountability. If you allow him not to take care of his children financially, that's allowing him to, skate being responsible. Let him share. Now, here's something. If you don't need his money to raise your child, here's what I want you to do. And remember, it's called child support, because that's who it's for, not for you. It's for the child. Take that money and put it in the bank somewhere, because by the time he's 18 and 19 and ready to go to college, if he don't get a scholarship, you can take that child support, hello somebody, and help him to go to college with it. And guess what? If he gets a scholarship and you don't have to pay for college, well, maybe you can take that child support that you stored up that you didn't need, and maybe you can give him a down payment on his new house. Come on, somebody. Come on. We have to be smart. So it's okay for men to be responsible by taking care of their child and giving child support. But make sure you do the right thing with it, Mom. That's all I ask.
I tell you, this is a great topic. This is a great topic. Another thing I wanted to, now this is very sensitive, but it also we're a little bit over time. However, I remember my spiritual father, Archbishop Ralph Dennis, always has told me at the very beginning of this Project 365, it's not so important to stick to the time, but if the topic is so important to the audience, as well as the information that we get, keep it going. Keep it going. So sure. I'm doing what my spiritual father said. How much truth is in this, where some of the mothers may say, I don't need the father in raising this child. However, as a little boy, if the little boy sees mom going to the bathroom and sitting, is there any truth to the matter that when growing up, he may, begin to do like the female does, or pick up those particular habits, knowing that the male usually stands to go to the bathroom,
sure,
and the woman usually sits. So,
I do not have any statistical, scientific analysis to prove whether or not a man being raised, boy being raised by his mother will automatically, sit down on the tallest seat because he sees that. I don't have anything to offer statistically or scientifically about that particular subject. I would tend to believe, though, that is not something that a boy would probably, by and large and on a large scale, pick up. I don't see that. And because there's so many women who have raised sons, I think we would see more evidence of that. Could there be one or two? Could there be somebody? I mean, there's always a case or two that I would call an anomaly, not of the norm. That it is a possibility. So I don't want anybody who's listening to me to take that as the potential. Now, I do know that there are a number of things that males can pick up from women certain gestures and movements, and sometimes, and that I've seen things like that. And that's why I do think that it's important to have that man somewhere around that he can teach, talk, because I'm sure that even a young boy seeing his mother doing that and seeing the difference of genitalia, he may be having questions about it. And I would hope, to be honest with you, I would hope any mother that saw that, she would do the right thing by correcting the behavior of her son, because I don't think that that's a scenario where it's a gender neutral. You know, boys stand up, you know, boys use urinals. And I think that they need to do that and continue to do that.
Great. Thank you for that. And thank you for prefacing it with, you know, you don't have any statistics or anything. And that was more so, you know, an opinionated response. But thank you so very much. This was wonderful. So much so that we're going to bring Dr. David back in December. We have something up our sleeves, not just for Dr. David, but several men that will come to the platform and will address issues of men, good, bad, indifferent, and coming from different backgrounds, but it is regarding and relating to Black men. We're just grateful to you, first to God, and then to you. And please give Lady Walker my regards. Anytime you can be with him for 38 years, it's a good thing. But I am most confident. Hold on for a minute. I am most confident that behind every great man, there is a great woman. Absolutely. And what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, you know, a lot of people, when they say to me, how's your wife doing? And my answer is always, she still loves me.
It's a good thing. Nowadays, that is a good thing.
Yeah.
Amen. So on this note, we're going to leave you for today. As we oftentimes say, please share this information. This is so good for boys, for teen boys, little boys, young adults that are males, even some of them to the mothers of these young men. Share this broadcast with them. It will definitely enlighten them and give them more insight on what's going on in the lives of their Black child.
Yes.
And to even the adults as well. Again, we're going to leave you for today, but just know that we will be back tomorrow on this platform, acknowledged as Project 365, to bring you hope, encouragement, and inspiration through our wonderful guests that will share this platform with us. God bless you until we see you again. Thanks again, Dr. David.
Thank you for having me.